Tea Time True Crime with Katie. I hope everyone is having a great day or night, whatever you're doing. Um, if you are watching, hello, hi, thank you so much for watching. And if you're listening, hello, thank you for listening. There's going to be a trigger warning on today's story. If you do not want to hear about relations with a minor, a child, pretty much, then please click off of this video. I actually heard her testimony, and in this whole podcast, I'm going to summarize the best of my ability of what she talks about. But also, I feel like don't leave any of the important stuff out because, spoiler alert, this person is still alive and she is a survivor. She is also known as the girl in the wall. This is going to be the abduction of Catie Beers. Today's tea, if you are listening, I have Dr. Ming green tea, whatever that's called, something I probably ordered off of Instagram. I don't know if you guys are guilty of that as well. The ads sometimes do get me. Let me know down by the comments below. I also have, of course, honey, and my cup it's an older cup, but it's a white mug that has beautiful black artistic linings of a floral arrangement. Very pretty. That was a weird drum roll that I did with my cup. My apologies. But again, I'm going to be talking about Catie Beers. What I'm going to be talking about is extremely upsetting, extremely disturbing, but I will tell you the awesome part of the story is it has a happy ending. All right, now let's get to it. Let me get this book that I have been writing, my handy dandy notebook, and we are going to talk about Catie Beers. Catie Beers was actually locked in a bunker for 17 days. And why she is incredible, I feel like in my opinion and anyone's opinion with this story, is that she outsmarted her abductor and he let her go. Oh yeah. Now, before this even happened, Catie had so much abuse in her life. Like as little as, oh man, I'll get to it. Here we go. Let's go. So Catie Beers was born December 30th, 1982, which makes her a Capricorn. Very strong, my favorite people. Honestly, I love Capricorns. And she did not know her biological father at all. Now, through this interview that I found on a lot of sources, the big interview is actually on YouTube, and she does not call her mother mother, she calls her Marilyn. Her birth mother is Marilyn, and she seemed into the abuse of when she was younger. Maybe not clearly, but because of the mother, this is why a lot of abuse happened to her. So thank goodness police took her away and put her into a great home. So Catie Beers knew her biological half-brother, John, and her godmother was Linda. Linda was a very good friend of Marilyn's. But Linda had a husband. His name was Sal Ingallarari. Again, butchering, but I don't care. He's garbage. And that's who she's known her entire childhood. Now, when Catie was just a couple months old, her mother, Marilyn, had a headache. And she told her friends, hey, can you watch my daughter as I go and rest? Well, they did not give her back. They did not give Catie back to her mother. In fact, it was quite a while, and Marilyn decided to forgive them for taking away her daughter, which firstly was abducted. It doesn't say how long, but sadly it does say how long the abuse was for Catie. Now, the stepfather, Sal, of, well, not stepfather, but pretty much that's what she kind of knows him as, but he's really just like the godmother's husband. I know it's confusing. Just stay with me, okay? So he starts abusing her right at when she's 2 years old. 2 years old until 8 years old. He started touching Catie inappropriately. And then he made her touch him inappropriately as well. The abuse was verbal, it was physical, and sadly, it turned into penetration. That's disgusting. 2 years old. Like, what the? 2 to 8 years old was her abuse. Now, Catie's mother was a taxi driver, because all this happened in Long Island, New York in the 90s, okay? Now, there was this mother who was a fare, you know, for the taxi, paying for the taxi, and she had a son named John. So the mother's name is Rose Esposito. And, you know, Rose and Marilyn just start talking, you know? I guess you get kind of close to your fare and you talk about your problems. Who knows? Not judging. But she does say that, you know, I'm unwed. I have a daughter. You know, it can be a lot. I need help. And Rose is like, oh, well, my son, John Esposito. I mean, she first didn't say Esposito, but my son, John, you know, he is in the Big Sister and Big Brother program. Which, if you don't know what that is, it is basically for kids that do not have parental figures. And it's like a big, huge community thing. I mean, people get background checks. It's a big deal. I mean, they should. You basically get children, you take them to places, and just pretty much act like a parent, a guardian. Big brother, big sister. Sounds great, right? Well, Marilyn actually finds out in the 90s that John does not belong to that program at all. But she did not realize, because remember Catie's half-brother? Her half-brother actually was taken to Six Flags. He was taken to sporting events. You know, I'm hoping this was before the mother found out that he was a creep, okay? But it does say that in the 90s, okay, early 90s. So, yes. So John is basically spoiling the children. And Marilyn is just thinking, well, this is great. This guy's amazing. Well, the mother, Marilyn, like I said, in the 90s, does find out that John is actually not in the Big Brother, Big Sister program at all. It's like a ruse. She's like, oh my God, get the hell away from my children. Smart, right? What's not smart, though, is still having Linda, who took your child at a couple months old and abducted her, and then you forgave her for it. So Marilyn felt bad, okay? Because Linda actually called Marilyn around Christmas and was like, hey, you know, I miss Catie. You know, we always spent the holidays together. I don't know, some bullcrap statement, remark. And Marilyn was like, well, what do you have in mind? You know, it's Christmas. And she's like, well, can we pick up Catie and we just hang out for just a few hours? And, you know, we'll just pick out, you know, Christmas stuff, you know, presents, maybe make gingerbread cookies. who knows what this Linda chick said to Marilyn, because Marilyn agreed to it under two stipulations, two exceptions. Okay, what's the word? Okay, anyway, basically 2 reasons that absolutely not that Catie has to be around. Number 1, apparently at that time, her and her ex-husband had separated during these accusations. She said, number 1, keep my daughter away from your husband, or keep him away from Sal. Linda's like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. And Linda apparently knew John. Again, family friend, small town, whatever. And Marilyn's like, please, do not let John around Catie. And Linda's like, yeah, no problem. I will not let that happen. Like I said, it was Christmas, 1992. And Catie Beers did see John. Linda actually let John into their home. John bought Catie a Barbie dream house, but it was not put all together yet. It was not assembled. So John actually said, hey, I'll be back tomorrow and I'll help you build the Barbie dream house. And Catie is uncomfortable. She is. At 9 years old, she is uncomfortable. And but Linda's like, you'll be fine. Everything is good. He bought you a present. It's all good. He's being really nice to you, you know? So when Johnny comes back, he actually comes back and then asks Linda, hey, after he built the Barbie dream house, hey, can I go take Catie to the arcade? And maybe, you know, like the Iceplex? And then after that, you know, sorry, I wrote it down. Yes, the Spaceplex. Excuse me, that does sound bomb when you're a kid. It's an indoor arcade Spaceplex. And Linda, yeah, sure. Sure, take her. Okay. What? So Catie is very uncomfortable. And she's like, listen, Linda, I do not want to go. I do not want to go with John. Because before, John, when he would spoil the kids and they all hang out, he would bring them to the house. Everything was peachy. Catie wasn't uncomfortable because she knew everything was okay. But now Marilyn knows John is not okay. Sal is not okay. Okay? Catie has been abused. Catie, she's been through a lot. So Catie gets red flags already as a little girl, like, hey, I don't want to go. But Linda's like, oh, you'll be fine. You're just going to be gone for a couple hours and he'll bring you right back. But he did not bring Catie right back. All right, guys, this is where I'm talking about extreme assault. And I do apologize if I bring anybody bad vibes, but this is true. This happened to someone and she needs to be remembered. So I don't think I'm giving her justice if I don't tell the whole story. So after the Iceplex, he goes and he's like, hey, how about I buy you a video game at Toys R Us? So he takes her to Toys R Us and she goes and buys a video game. And it's Home Alone. Let me know down in the comments below if you remember that game from the early 90s. I don't remember that, but it's called Home Alone. Yeah, like the movie. So John tells Catie, you don't have a game, a Nintendo, do you? And Katie's like, no, I don't. He was like, well, why don't you bring the game over to my house and, you know, we can play there. And of course, Catie is like, okay, you know, this guy's all right. So he takes her there and she goes into the house and the room, and she didn't feel uncomfortable at all because it had every game console you could imagine, she said. Everything in that bedroom. And all the game board, like all the, like the games and board games. She said everything that you could imagine was in that room. And she didn't feel, you know, like that uncomfortable because she was there with her half brother and, you know, things were fine. She's just sitting on the bed, chilling, ready to play the game, but he comes up behind her, puts his hand over her mouth, and says to her, "I'm not gonna hurt you," and puts little Catie on top of his lap and starts assaulting her. So when that is happening, of course, she is flailing and screaming because while his hand is over her mouth, he lays her on his side and her side, and yeah. So while that is happening, don't really know the timeline of that, but she is flailing, she is screaming, and she is trying to get away. So she runs and she goes to his office, and there's a phone. She starts dialing 911 on the phone, and he grabs her, and he's much bigger than her, so she does not have a chance. So he grabs her, throws her under the desk. She is so scared and crying. He gets so mad and he hangs up the phone. It didn't actually reach 911. It didn't say. This is the early 90s, so 911's technology wasn't the best like it is, you know, like nowadays. Poor Catie is hiding underneath the desk, scared to death. Then what John does next, he grabs her and throws her in a closet. She describes being thrown against drywall with a nail sticking out. So not only she is so scared, but she is hurt and she is hurting. So he keeps her in the closet, but then she hears this noise. She hears maneuvering, and she's like, what's going on? He opens some kind of like the floor and the wall. It's like this little cubby where he strangely has been building for years to have her as a prisoner. Like, what? Yeah. So he makes her get in there. She is trying so hard. I do not want to go in there. No, no, no. And he grabs her and pretty much drops her down. Poor Catie, she is chained by the neck. She is assaulted. She is there for 17 days. But this little girl did not give up hope. She did not. He wanted him to take a picture of her laying down with her eyes closed so he could send the pictures to the police. Now, as a little girl, her instinct was correct. Why would someone want me to pretend that I'm dead pretty much in the picture? Well, because so the people would never find her. So this little girl made sure she barely got any sleep. And she would not eat much food because she was scared there was poison in it. Now, after time and the assaults, Catie is only 9 years old. And she's a child. And she has been through abuse after abuse. And she, I don't know how, you guys, comes up with a plan and just starts humanizing herself. Every time she is abused, she talks to him. She looks at him. She tries to be as alert as she can with John. And one day she's like, "I'm not feeling well." And John, he's a little worried, so he goes and gets her medicine. She does not take the medicine, and she goes, "No, John, I'm not feeling well." Now, John doesn't know what to think because she has no human interaction. She has not seen sunlight in 17 days. He really thinks she's sick. And this guy's plan was to marry her, have babies with her, whatever sick, twisted mind. So he didn't want her to be hurt. So she would lie and be like, "I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling well." And then it finally ate John. It finally ate him so bad that he called his lawyer. Because by then, in the background, you guys, the police, as soon as Catie was missing, Detective Verone was looking for Catie. He was looking at the family members, looking at her past, and this John Esposito guy had charges already and was not in the Big Brother, Big Sister, so they already were on him like white on rice, okay? During captivity, John also made Catie do a recording of, hello, hi, somebody has got me, I don't know who it is, you know, something along those lines. But in the recording, she said, Big John. And as soon as John heard the recording, because she didn't do it the right way, he slapped her. This little girl, man, she was resilient. Like, god dang, she's freaking awesome. So, okay. So the police are on to John because he's like a big known suspect right now. The police officer, Detective Verone, did not stop for 17 days. His biggest regret in the case was that he did not find her sooner. And I'm telling you, if you watch his interview, it put me to tears because he really, really wanted to find that little girl, and he did. And she was alive. So John calls his lawyer, and he's like, listen, I have Catie. I need to cut a deal. I need to cut a deal with you about prison, and then when we cut a deal, I will let you know where she is. So the lawyer called the DA and told him what was up, and the detective was so excited to find Catie, and he goes into John Esposito's house, and they were so creeped out because it was a whole nother room in a wall that you would have never seen. And when they went down the wall and they went inside the like cubby, because like the way they say it is the girl on the wall, I'm guessing it was down below, but then it went into a wall, you know, like behind a wall, where there was a toilet, a bed, food from the day before, and it was just horrible. And the detectives, it was just a horrible sight. But they were, you know, calling down because Catie was scared because stupid John would always test her and, you know, try to see if, you know, she would yell or scream. Even though he said nobody can hear you, Catie always tried. But then when the police said, this is the police, she heard different men, she knew she was going to be okay. Detective Verone goes down in the cubby hole, sees that Catie is chained by the neck. God, that sight had to be absolutely terrible. In soiled clothes, just unbathed. It was just horrible. He goes and gets Catie. Years later, Officer Verone and Catie still had contact. They grew very close. She was so appreciative that, you know, he didn't stop looking for her and he saved her life. Now, what happened to John, that dude, whatever the frig his name is, and then the creep Sal guy? So Sal got arrested and had, I think, like up to, it was weird, like up to 20 years in prison, but he ended up dying in February 2009. Well, they ended up, you know, with this stupid plea deal, okay, of John Esposito. He was actually put in prison, but the same day he was put in prison was the same day that he died. Oh yeah. Can't find much about that except I don't think when you go to prison and you touch little girls, inmates don't like you very much. No. Because even though they're prisoners, there's a lot of prisoners who have families, who have children. And John Esposito, the same day he went to prison, same day he died. Yeah. Insane, right? Man, New York does not play when it comes to like harming children. Wow. Yeah. Happy ending though. When Catie was found, she thought she was going to be brought back to Marilyn's house. But the police investigated and they're like, how the heck could a little girl be abducted, assaulted, and then abducted again under the care of the biological mother? Well, they did their investigation and they put Catie in a foster home. She was very confused. She just went through a huge ordeal. In fact, when she went to the police precinct and gave her, some comfort, they put her right to the hospital, but then they, took so much blood work. They did the rape kit, and this is a little girl, and she was so, so hungry. But weirdly, she said she didn't eat until like hours and hours later. But a nice nurse gave her orange juice. That's sweet. She said the nurse was giving her orange juice while she was being prodded, and her, them touching her private parts. I mean, just like traumatic. Now, at the end, you guys, she was actually also abducted, yes, twice, which is insane, but she was also adopted finally. She was adopted from when the whole ordeal happened all the way when she was 18 by Barbara and Ted. She also had other siblings as well, and she was just, she thought it was so weird to have families talk to her, and they all had to eat together, sit at a table. They cared about her brushing her teeth, and Catie Beers loves her mother and dad, loves them, which is Barbara and Ted, who adopted her in the end, showed her a great life. And again, at 18, she could have left, but she did not. She stayed even after college. Catie actually wrote a best-selling book called Buried Memories. She also works for the missing and exploited children. Incredible, you guys. To take something so horrific, a horrible, horrible past, and then just, like the light at the end of the tunnel. So she likes to say, anyone who is a survivor of trauma, abuse, or what have you, you are more than what happened to you. That is so good. You are more than what happened to you. Remember that. She did not want the trauma to affect her the rest of her life, and she has not. She's actually helping other people. She met the love of her life and has 2 children. She literally has the life she's always wanted. That is absolutely incredible. Really sad story, but absolutely amazing. And I'm going to have a sip because I always do, but I forgot. Oh man, that's so good. Gotta gently put that down because it gets so loud with these awesome new headphones. Wow. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for watching. Please remember to love yourself and stay safe. And also remember, you're doing better than you think. I will see you guys later, and I appreciate you so much. Until next time, bye guys. Thank you.